Good evening, you're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. In case you're wondering, I am at the stunning ghats of Varanasi, to be precise, right next to the Tulsi Ghat. Behind me is the Assi Ghat and the Aarti right now going on. To put the focus in this show on the 13 seats that are up for elections in Purvanchal in the final phase of polling, the 7th phase, come the 1st of June. If you're going to hark back to 2019, out of these 13 seats, 11 were won by the Bharatiya Janata Party and 2 were taken by the Samajwadi Party, BSP combined. The BSP had won them. But this time the dynamics very, very different. The BJP would want to consolidate on these 11 or rather, push for more. The combine of the Samajwadi Party as well as the Congress looking to foster OBC Dalit social unity combine and hoping to bolster their vote on that. Well, in this phase, Prime Minister Modi will also seek to reclaim his bastion. Many would suggest here the focus is not on who's winning the seat in Varanasi, but more so got to do with the fact on what will be the margin of victory. 2019, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, won from a margin of 4.5 lakh votes. So it remains to be seen what that winning margin is this time, how much Banaras gives it to him, because of whoever we are speaking with seem to suggest that it's an easy win for the Prime Minister, understandably so. On the other hand, while it's the Modi-Yogi double engine at one end that the BJP is pushing forth on, the main poll narrative for the Bharatiya Janata Party in Purvanchal, which is primarily more backward than other parts of Uttar Pradesh, is Vikas, that they want to change the face of Purvanchal. On the other hand, you've had the Gathbandhan, which is, like I told you, trying to foster a combine of the OBC plus the Dalit vote under the larger banner of social justice. It remains to be seen who, out of the two alliances, the NDA or the India Alliance, the people of Purvanchal choose.
काशी के लिए एक बार का चुनाव नव काशी के साथ विकसित भारत के निर्माण का चुनाव हो। काशी के लोगन के 1 जून के दिन नया रिकॉर्ड बनावे के हो।
Well, this was the Prime Minister's address to Varanasi, speaking also in a bit of the dialect that is spoken here in Purvanchal and parts of it. But let's put the focus on these 13 seats up for election in the final phase, 7th phase, come the 1st of June. Joining me on that this evening is Sanjay Kumar, co-director, Lokniti CSDS, and psephologist Ashutosh, author, political analyst Rahul Verma, fellow Center for Policy Research, Rajat Sethi, political commentator. Sanjay Kumar, how are you looking at these 13 seats? If you go back to 2019, though the alliances were very different, of 13, 11 were won by the Bharatiya Janata Party, 2 by the BSP-SP combine, largely the BSP. This time, at least the Samajwadi Party pushing forth with the narrative of social justice, hoping to pull some of the Dalit vote as well as the OBC vote.
Preeti, I don't disagree that the scenario has changed. If we compare 2024 elections from 2019, so Purvanchal, which was a BJP bastion in 2019, if we go by the 2019 result, yes, BJP still remains a dominant political force in the Purvanchal, 13 seats which goes to poll on this Saturday. But I think BJP is facing some challenge, or I might say BJP would face some challenge when people go out to vote on 1st of June, as I think has happened in many seats which went to poll in the between 1st and the 6th phase of poll. So yes, maybe advantage BJP, but BJP not in such a dominant position as it was in 2019.
Rahul Verma, how do you read, the developments, especially in Purvanchal? I've been traveling extensively across this region, and I have to, agree with what Sanjay Kumar has said, because on many of the seats, Rahul Verma, of course not Varanasi, because Varanasi, they say, is a given, and you can see it. Other than, to count the seats for you, other than, say, a Varanasi or a Maharajganj, and of course a Gorakhpur with the influence of Yogi Adityanath, most seats that we have been to seem to suggest a very tight contest.
I agree with you, Preeti. Both in 2019 as well as in UP 22 assembly elections, the Samajwadi Party did relatively better in the Purvanchal region. They were more likely to win seats even during the assembly elections of 2022, and the victory margins for BJP or BJP's vote share in 22 assembly elections was lowest in the Purvanchal region if you compare it with our and Western UP. So yes, Purvanchal, it would be keenly contested contest. BJP, because it has won a larger number of seats out of 13, both in 2014 and 2019, it will have an edge. But those seats, like the 13 seats which are polling in phase 7 and also seats that polled in 6th, they are relatively tougher seats for BJP to be able to continue winning them.
You know, Ashutosh, to bring you in on this, now I want to flip the narrative a little because, yes, you know, as a reporter, what I'm witnessing, not in Banaras, but the seats even adjoining Banaras, for example, Chandoli, you go to Ghazipur, you go to Badohi, you go to Robertsganj, you go to Mirzapur, you do sense a very, very keen contest. But let me flip the question. I was here in 22 as well. And as a political journalist, even then, Ashutosh, I thought there's something happening this side of Purvanchal when it comes down to the state election. But the results were very, very different.
See, Preeti, these 13 seats, last time BJP and Apna Dal has won 11. The 2 seats, Ghosi and the Ghazipur, has gone to BSP. Samajwadi Party hasn't won a single seat, and the Samajwadi Party was in alliance with the BSP. So you can understand the Samajwadi Party BSP candidate won. The important thing is that in the last 2019, Maharajganj, Gorakhpur, Devariya, Basgaon, Salempur, Varanasi and Mirzapur. These are the 7 seats which the BJP candidate has won with 50% plus votes. Varanasi and Gorakhpur, if you add, or Maharajganj, they were touching something around 60%, like Gorakhpur 60%, Kushinagar, then Maharajganj 59.20%, and then Varanasi again, it is 63.62%. If in this phase the BJP is struggling, and BJP is struggling, there is no doubt about it. That means there is something seriously wrong in UP, has gone wrong in UP for the BJP. The issue today is that in this area, can BJP retain half of its seats, or can it retain 70% of seats? If BJP can retain, even that will be a success. But can they retain that's the most important question. And I think BJP is in deep trouble in this area also, which is supposed to be their bastion and which they had won without any competition, in fact. Because if out of 13, if you are winning 11 seats, that means there was no competition, because the last seat which the BSP has won in Robertsganj,
okay,
but not in the Robertsganj, but in in Robertsganj. No, sorry, not in the Robertsganj. In the Ghazipur, the margin was 51%, but in Ghosi, the margin was something around 50%. Right. So issue is, can BJP retain these 11 seats? I'm not sure they can retain it. I will be happy if they retain 50% of the seats.
Okay. All right, you know, you talk about Ghazipur. Afzal Ansari fought that election on a BSP ticket in 2019. This time he's on a Samajwadi Party ticket. I was there, and many would suggest it's a very strange election because he seems to be getting, of course, the support of the Yadavs and the Samajwadi Party cadre, but strangely also of the BSP cadre, because most of them swear allegiance to him. But that's a separate story. I want to bring in Rajat Sethi into this conversation. Rajat Sethi, the issue here is this time around, and why possibly the reading could be different from what 22 was, because many journalists who were here on the state elections in 2022 had come up with a similar feeling that there was something turning here. And of course, that didn't turn. Everything went in favor of the BJP. But if you look at the social caste calculations and dynamics in key areas, for example, you know, to give you the example of Badohi, to give you the example of possibly what's happening even in Mirzapur at the back, or what Raja Bhaiya has said, each election is happening very, very differently.
See, Preeti, I agree with what you're saying to some extent, but let me tell you, there are a couple of issues that are being ignored. I think, first of all, Bahujan Samaj Party not being in alliance with the India Gathbandhan is one sure shot 8 to 9 to 10% vote share going away into the third front's kitty. That clearly doesn't add up easily into the India alliance, and that gives some breathing space for the BJP. Another thing that you need to sort of keep an eye on are the three OBC parties, the Apna Dal, the Nishad Party, and Rajbars Party. How much of weight are they going to pull on behalf of the NDA alliance is going to determine the success ratio. And I believe the flip-flops of Rajbar over the past 4 or 5 years we've seen he has certainly lost credibility to some extent, but it needs to be seen as to in terms of percentage vote as to how much of percentage has moved out of him. And this is where 2022 calculations of a lot of analysts went wrong in UP was they were seeing a lot of massive crowds in Akhilesh's rallies. And they were trying to estimate that, why is so many public is turning up and showing up, and especially in Purvanchal area, Akhilesh rallies were drawing massive support. But none of this was converting, primarily because the gap between the India alliance on one side and SP Congress alliance on the other side was too huge. I mean, even if 4 or 5% swings from one group to the other group, it doesn't swing the needle enough because the gap is around 30%. And I think this is the reason why, in spite of all the permutations or all the hints of winds of change that you can see, I don't see it will add up enough to dislodge BJP. I mean, the reports that I'm getting from both Ghazipur and Ghosi is completely different this time. And I personally feel that BJP will be able to reclaim Ghazipur citadel, which it had lost in 2019, primarily because all opposition were together in UP back then.
Okay.
So the maximum amount of experimentation, electoral experimentation that were done in 2019 have all largely failed. You are not going to see similar results. It's pure arithmetic. I mean, I'm not even getting into the chemistry part of it, which both Yogi and Prime Minister, both their images being tall enough, they'll be able to pull it off.
On the seat of Ghazipur, I do agree with you to an extent because yes, even though there's a sympathy factor, Afzal Ansari might have the support of BSP, SP, but Manoj Sinha, the former governor, is all in. And many suggest he's practically fighting that election and Parasnath is just a proxy. But that aside, I want to bring in Sanjay Kumar back into this conversation. Sanjay Kumar, with each of these 13 seats, the dynamic is changing seat by seat. This time, there is not one real factor. The chemistry that Rajat Sethi talks of, really, you don't see it beyond the borders of a Gorakhpur or a Varanasi.
Preeti, that's true. It's not only true of UP, but if you move from one state to another, we don't see one big narrative sweeping across the state, one big narrative sweeping across the country, or at least few states across the country. If you move from one constituency to another, you might find issues very, very different from one constituency to another. And that is what has made this election as a localized election. And I would consider this verdict, whichever party.
Sanjay Kumar, if I have to ask you, and I know you might not want to give him, come on it in terms of give me an answer, but of these 13, how many do you see the BJP keeping of the 11 that they kept the last time? Okay, Sanjay, we don't have his source, but can I bring in Rahul Verma to take that question?
Thank you, Preeti, for throwing me under the bus. It is very difficult to actually know which seat is going to which party. And so I would avoid... See, I am happy to make a national level forecast or a state level forecast. Seat by seat prediction is a hazardous exercise, even in the business of psephology. And the reason I actually don't like to go seat by seat is because then you miss the big picture narrative of what this election is shaping. There are 2 points. Purvanchal is a tougher place for BJP compared to other parts of UP. And this I'm saying based on historical data and looking at 2022 results. I'm not saying that BJP won't be able to repeat 11 seats. It can very well do that. It has done that in the past as well. But the reason why it becomes tougher, especially in the context of BSP, is that what it seems, and you might have noticed this on the field, that a larger portion of the leftover BSP votes is likely to go towards SP, which will bring the contest closer rather than creating a further gap between BJP and SP. And that's why you would see more contest. In the end, it could still be winning those seats.
Right. You're right, and I had no intention to throw you under the bus, so I apologize. That's just interesting in the terms of dynamics of these 13 seats. But Ashutosh, to get you in, I want to quickly, bring in Rajat Sethi and Ashutosh once again. We've lost Sanjay Kumar, I hear. But Ashutosh, everyone says that the BSP the last time around, but most people do forget there was the Samajwadi Party factor as well. And the Yadav vote is sizable this time around.
Preeti, I think 2019 parliamentary election is a misnomer and a bad benchmark for the UP itself. Why I'm saying so? Because you look at the 2022 assembly elections. 2022 assembly elections, the Samajwadi Party and BSP were not together. But there was a huge jump of 10.24% of Samajwadi Party's vote. It jumped from 22% to 32%. And along with other allies, the vote percentage jumps to 35 plus. Now the issue is that shows there is certain things which is going in favor of the Samajwadi Party, though it might not have, it didn't cross the critical mass in 2022. And then BSP was not with them. So that is Samajwadi Party is organically growing in UP. If that growth continues, then that will damage BJP somewhere. I'm not saying that BJP
that's why
I want to sweep off.
Okay.
But they are going to substantially damage BJP.
Okay, I want to bring in Rajat Sethi for a final comment, because Rajat Sethi, the traditional vote banks, let's say the Yadavs, the Muslims, that aside, but what's keen to watch out for, and what I'm watching out for as a political reporter, is the vote bank that voted for the BJP, for example, the Kurmis, or even a part of the non-Jatav Dalits. And this time around, those other vote banks, if they shift, then it's bad news for the BJP.
See, this is where you need to understand Akhilesh Yadav's social engineering's attempt. He attempted in Purvanchal. What he did was he did not give Muslims the ticket. He went with the assumption that Muslims are anyway going to back me. I should experiment with the other OBCs and certain Dalit candidates, even to the extent of going and giving Hari Shankar Tiwari's son, Bhishma Shankar Tiwari, ticket from Dumariaganj. What he is attempting is that all the citadels, all prominent castes which were siding with the BJP, he would want to give out tickets to leaders who belongs to these castes and experiment on the assumption that the Muslims and the Yadavs are going to stick behind him. This is where things have gotten interesting in Purvanchal. And this is where his experiment would be tested on the 1st of June. Again, attempt is an attempt. It's a good attempt and we should appreciate that. But in order to wedge the trust that each of these communities have bestowed upon Yogi and Modi both, Yogi remains a tall factor, a very important factor in Purvanchal, and it is his image which is at stake when it comes to 1st of June. And I think that should be seen very closely.
All right. Okay. We're going to keep a keen eye on all developments. The seat selection and the candidate selection you spoke of, Rajat Sethi, is not just actually limited to Purvanchal. We've seen it in pockets across Uttar Pradesh where the Samajwadi Party has fielded candidates very different than what has been the traditional stereotype of the Samajwadi Party. However, whichever way, it translates, we know on the 4th of June, but 1st of June, you can tune in to India Today to know what's the larger picture looking like. Appreciate all four gentlemen to join us. Thank you. We sign off on the ghats of the river Ganga, Banaras. We'll be back in the studio tomorrow.